Now we have a welcome from Charles Verdon, who is the National Nuclear Security Administration's Deputy Administrator for Defense Programs. Dr. Verdon leads the team that directs the Stockpile Stewardship Program at DOE. He was previously Principal Associate Director within the Weapons and Complex Integration Directorate at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, where he oversaw management and coordination of the lab's weapons program's activities. He took that post after serving as the director's principal deputy, principal associate director, program director for the secondary nuclear design program, and the AX division leader at Lawrence Livermore. Dr. Verdon was also responsible for managing the scientific grand challenge effort of achieving ignition at the National Ignition Facility. He holds a doctorate in nuclear engineering from the University of Arizona. Charlie?
Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here today. It's joining and welcoming you to this review. It was lucky for me today. It turns out the location of this was a short distance from my apartment since I moved here. And so I was able to walk this morning, but I must admit, after 30 years living just east of San Francisco, where a high humidity day is 15%, getting used to what they call a low humidity day in this area is still getting used to that. So I add my welcome to all of you for your annual program review. I think it's similar to what Steve said, what you're working on and what you'll be presenting and listening to and learning from this during your review is the kind of high-performance computing that my organization is, and will be dependent upon for the foreseeable future. The program that you're part of, this review offers, I think, a tremendous opportunity to come together, share ideas, support one another in your efforts, present the research that you're currently undertaking, and hopefully to explore and be exposed to the research that's being done at the Department of Energy's laboratories. In terms of my program, just as a way of background, since the start of the nuclear weapons program, computing has played an important and increasingly so role in ensuring confidence in the nuclear stockpile. And let me clarify, when I say high-performance computing, I mean the platforms, the software, the hardware, the facilities. It's an essential role in maintaining confidence in our nuclear stockpile and enabling us to adhere to the current U.S. policy of no additional explosive nuclear testing. It's my assessment that next to the workforce, which obviously nothing can be done without the workforce, high-performance computing has been instrumental, if not the most important capability contributing to our 20-plus year success in the stewardship program. I've tried to think about how we would have accomplished what we have accomplished without computing, and it's been hard the use of computing has become so ubiquitous, it's almost hard for us to envision what it would look like. The only thing I could say, it would have probably taken a tremendously much more conservative approach than we've had to take, but also in that vein, a much more costly approach. So as I say, computing has just been instrumental to what we do. But even with those successes, we're not just sitting back and saying we're done. We see a continuing drive to advance our high-performance computing capabilities, not only the hardware, but the computational software in particular, and the physics fidelity of the models within that software are areas where we have to continue to pay quite a bit of attention to and improve. So if you look at where we're going with our computing platforms, right now our largest capability machine is installed at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, the Sierra machine. The next machine will be going in at Los Alamos National Laboratory, and we're working synergistically and collaboratively with the Office of Science to bring and ensure that we have our first exascale platform in 2023 also to be installed at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. But I'll have to admit that once we kind of look past that exascale machine, the crystal ball begins to get a little cloudier as to what's coming next. But I view that as a tremendous opportunity for people such as yourself to not only think about what is that next platform, not only in terms of the hardware, but the software that's going to be required to run those platforms and the software that's going to be required to run on those platforms. It's clear that the machines that we're working on are getting more challenging to use. In terms of the science, we still have a number of significant computational challenges that face us. These range from improving the efficiency of how our codes utilize the platforms. It's unfortunate, but if you actually look back through the history, the efficiency of which we use our computers has not really changed that much since the inception of what the ASCII program was. It's low and it stayed low for a long time, and we need to explore ways of how to improve that. We have to still work on enabling three-dimensional simulations to become the norm. We aren't quite there yet, but it's important for us to get there. And as I mentioned, improving the science fidelity of our codes, that is also key. There are a number of exciting challenges in that area in the science fidelity that I could enumerate, but for time this morning, let me just say that they run the gamut. And a lot of times in the weapons program, there's an adage that it's materials, nothing but materials. You find out when you chase down some inadequacy that you find in your codes, it was a lack of understanding in how the materials actually behaved. So actually, improving our material models is one of the real key, key capabilities that we have to work on. So just to make sure that people know, NNSA remains committed to being at the forefront of computational science and helping to maintain the U.S. leadership in high-performance computing. The scientific underpinning of our codes, it relies heavily on our 3 NNSA national laboratories and the people within. The kind of work that we do requires engineers, physicists, chemists, material scientists, computational physicists. And the NNSA labs have had a long history of utilizing mission-focused, multidisciplinary teams to do big science and to synergistically support a wider, broader range of scientific capabilities. So just to wrap up, I'll say that the complexity and importance of the problems that NNSA must address going forward requires us to have the best available working with us. To stay at the forefront of high-performance computing is essential. And it's obviously gotten more challenging with the rise of renewed peered competition. So I hope you will enjoy this week's review and take the opportunity to look for ways to join and collaborate with the NNSA laboratories and to explore opportunities as you chart your future path and your future careers. So with that, again, I welcome you, and I hope you have a good week at your review.